Are we about to enter a tier 0 format? I don't think it's going to be that bad. However, this deck is malice, mean, and scary, and I think it's going to be the best deck of the format, and hopefully we get a good counter deck to it. Otherwise, it has the potential to be that tier 0 threat. And I know some people are going to say, well, it's not consistent enough, it's risky, it needs its curve, it's too high roll. And I mean, that's the thing though. If you get to that high roll, you just win because the deck at the top end is arguably the best in the game. Maybe red blue can compete with it on that top end. So is that an option that some players pivot towards to counter this strategy? Obviously, the new song, Malice, Mean, and Scary, is one of the biggest things that is going to just help you out. And why is that? It's putting a damage counter on each opposing character, and it's a 3-cost inkable song. It gets around resist because it puts a damage counter. It does not deal damage, which I feel like is kind of broken. Like, at least if resist could help, then resist would help. And it's so good because you also have your Prince Philip, Vanquisher of Foes, who is a shift 6/6/6 evasive 3-cost. I'm just saying, it's going to be a hell on earth format, possibly. This deck is no fun to go against. And we're talking about the shift 6/6/6 card. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But when you play this card, banish all opposing damage characters, and thanks to the song, that's everything. You just board wipe your opponent. You B-prep your opponent, save your board, and you get a big, big, beefy character on board. And he's inkable too. So you're not even like running into these high-end uninkable card pieces. It's all inkable. Another new card that is just absolutely wonderful for this deck, Cinderella Dream Come True, one of the best cards in the entire set. At the end of your turn, if you played a princess, you can put a card from your hand to your inkwell and draw a card. She is a princess and it does not say other, so therefore by playing her, you get to go ahead and ramp and draw a card. Fix your hand, get to those combo pieces that you need to get to. So right off the top, this deck is very high roll. If you get to it, you're probably going to win. Which decks what decks are going to be able to compete against you, right? Red blue maybe has a better top end. That's going to be one of those decks that has that very high roll aspect to it. I don't know that Blurple has the top end. This already was not a good matchup last format. I don't really see it being better this format. Not to say Blurple can't beat this deck. It's just an unfavorable matchup. And it just has blowout answers towards like everything. There's multiple pivot routes now. You don't have to hit Clarabelle shift line. And when we're building this deck, we want to find the consistency, right? Because that's something people are going to point out. Well, you need the Prince, you need the song, you need the ramp. And I truly agree. I understand completely. But let's not act like we don't have some consistency tools at our disposal. In the 1-drop spot, you do have your Spray Cheese Kid, where you can draw and discard a card, help fix your hand. Yeah, 3-drop Clarabelle often is going to net you a draw, so you get to draw off of her. Your Cinderella not only ramps you, fixes your hand, you get to draw. Your Perfect Gentleman Donald, another card that gets to net you a draw. So many cards that let you draw. There's things like your Visions of the Future, where you can dig 5 cards deep to look for that missing piece that you need. There's so many different things that this deck has going for it, and I think that Cinderella and that song were two very, very big pieces that really are going to help out quite a bit. The Clarabelle shift line is still something that is going to be very, very strong, something that you're going to try to go for. So I do play the 7 little Clarabelles. Like I said, this card is just such a force in a meta where card advantage, card control is so good. The Gargoyles is going to be an interesting take on it. Maybe like a Blue Steel can combat this deck possibly. Get to Goliath, really force your opponent's hand size down, try to choke out their resources, not let them do certain things. Maybe like a Green Steel discard deck. If we really want discard back in the format, that might be one of the better ways to come at this deck. If you just starve their hand and resources, well, they're not going to be able to pull off the combo because they need cards for it. But if they hit the combo, can you come back from it? So in the 1-drops, playing the 4 Bobbies and the 3 Clarabelles. 2-drop, we do have the Sail Tipo ramp package still. I think it's the best turn 2 play for the deck. In your 3s, we got the Clarabelle, and then also 2 Prince Philip. He's a 3/2 2-questing character with Ward, just kind of opening the door for that shift line. But let's say you miss it, right? You're still realistically turn 6, turn 7, going to be able to hit the Prince Philip without shift. Being able to do it on shift just means that you're going to be able to hit it on like a turn 5 and really combat those aggressive decks. But how prevalent are these aggressive decks going to be with so many Sapphire decks and Spooky Sight running amok now too? It's kind of crazy how quickly aggro got nosedived, and I still think Amber Steel can compete. I really do. Pete is a hell of a card, and a well-timed Pete is going to just be insane this format. It's going to be a very controlled format, so I do think that Amber Steel maybe that's the option. So Amber Steel featuring heavy dosage of Pete, maybe a discard deck, otherwise another high roll deck like Red Blue. Maybe one of those decks steps up and decides to be the big counter for the deck. Blue Steel has a pretty good late game thing with like Vincenzo's and Tinkerbells and other great late game cards. So one of those decks hopefully slots into that role, and we can get our triangle format going once again. Our 4-drops. Consistency here is kind of the key. Consistency, Ramp, Cinderella, Donald, both of them help you draw. And like I said, Cinderella definitely helping fix your hands. Ramp, lots of good things there. I still like the John Silver, but this is probably the card most on the chopping block. I want to test out the deck more into the format, see how the format shapes up before I truly cut John Silver. I think he's probably the card on the chopping block the most though, and I'm still on 2 though. The Reckless is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Then another card that's finding his way into these decks, and I've seen some people playing it at 4. And I don't agree with that. I think that Max Goof, it's fine as a one of. I mean, some are playing 3 or 4 Malice, 4 Mother Knows Best, 4 Your Welcomes, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with the 4 Mother Knows Best. This card obviously letting you double up on it is going to be really strong, but I don't know. And Cinderella helping with your uninkable count too. So I get it that people are wanting to do that, especially for that early game control, get you to your late game a little bit better. I don't know that that's the right play. But whenever this character quests, you may play a song card, 4 cost or less from your discard for free, put it on the bottom of your deck. He's a 4/5/2 quester. Pretty strong there as well. I like him as a one of. I like him as a tech. I like him more in like a Emerald Steel deck where you have things like Strength and the new Thunderbolt. I like him more in Ruby Emerald where you have your Bee Kings and other more interactive cards that he can play. I mean, obviously, Mother Knows Best. You're welcome. Both interact too, but you get those additional ones from those other colors. Blue's not really giving us an interaction song to add in with our Max, but I do like him as a tech card. 3 Basil. If I took out John Silver, I'd probably go to 4 here. The card is just really nice for tempo play on play with the bounce, and then also helping control when you quest, forcing your opponent into a discard. Clarabelle's John Silver probably do a 4th Hades as well, so we'd make that concession. 3 Hades though feels all right. Some people say you should cut it entirely. I don't agree with that, but I do like me some Hades in my blue decks. You guys should know that already. 4 Prince Philips. It's one of the options that this deck has, and versus like some of these high roll decks that's like red blues, blurples that play. You know, they're gonna see it coming. They're gonna try to avoid it. They're gonna do what they can. which means that they're not going to be putting a lot of threats out on board, which means that makes your bend to my will that much stronger. If your opponent wants to try and play back and hold cards, commit enough to force you to do the Prince Philip line, but not put enough to where they lose to it, and then you hit them with a bend to my will instead, and now their whole hand is gone, and you just start challenging into their board that way, and you attack them on two fronts. It's just it feels like this deck, it has its answers like to beat it, but it feels like whatever you try to do to beat this deck, it has a counterplay just already naturally built into it. So it's kind of nasty, I'm not gonna lie. Two Visions is another card that may be on the chopping block, but at the same time I love this card so much. 4 Sail, 4 Malice, 4 You're Welcome. The 1 Stop Chaos, 1 Under the Sea. I think with the inclusion of Prince Philip, these cards are a little less important. Before you're probably playing like 2, maybe 3 Chaos, and then like 3 Under the Sea, maybe 4, but you probably weren't on bend. But with the format being less aggressive, you have Chaos, you have Under the Sea, you have your Welcome, you have your Prince Philip, and you have just bigger bodies challenging into your opponent to go at them that way. I think that the deck performs really well. No Spooky Sight in this deck, which feels kind of weird. I absolutely love that card, favorite card in the entire set. I just between Prince Philip and Under the Sea, I think it's unnecessary, and giving your opponent the ink is something that you don't necessarily always want to do. Usually it's not going to matter. Most decks that get ramped hard from it can't capitalize it on it anyway. But yeah, this is my take on blue-green that I've unfortunately been doing pretty well with in the early testing, and I don't want to say enjoying it because I don't know. There's potential for this format not to be great. I'm pretty confident though that one of those decks I mentioned is going to step up and put a pretty hard check to this deck, and then we'll have like the counter for that, whether it's Purple Steel, Blurple, something. And then this deck will be Blurple, and we kind of create that loop of a format that we're so used to, and it makes things go around. But I do think that this is probably the best deck of the format. Even if it gets solved, even if we get our triangle, I still think it's the best overall deck. It just answers everything better, and I think it has less weaknesses than other decks. If anyone's interested, I did do, with each set release, I like to do a little player engagement survey, questions, and it talks about like favorite cards of the set, least favorite card, how was the set 9 meta, are you looking forward to set 10 meta, just some little interactive questions, and then we'll cover it in a video at a later time. If anyone wants to just click that link down below and participate in that would be cool. Thank you guys for watching though. As always, like, share, subscribe. What do you think is the best counter for this deck? I do have a few other things, and probably post in my community tab. I want to come up with like a relative schedule that I want to try to stick to as far as uploads, like with certain types of videos on days, so you guys can look forward to it. All that good stuff. If anyone has suggestions to any of that, definitely let me know. But the support I've been getting from you guys lately is absolutely crazy. So thank you guys so much. You make this all possible and worth it. Until next time, guys, take care.